Now listen to this. Skeptical investigators Joe Nickel and Ben Radford conclude that the more famous hauntings, the Snedeker family haunting, did not happen. Yes, it did. I've got news for you. It did. In fact, I'm going to tell you about it right now because of the Virgin Mary. This is a haunted item in John Zaffis' collection. It is one thing I'm going to tell you now, which I don't know if anybody of you knew. John Zaffis is the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Did you guys know that? John Zaffis is the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and he worked alongside them during the events of the investigation of the Snedeker families, the Virgin Mary statue. A closer look revealed that the hands of the statue were missing. They were supposedly melted off during the exorcism. So this is why this is all tying together. It's the weirdest thing. Did you know that John Zaffis was the nephew of Ed and Lorraine Warren? I didn't. I was shocked when I saw that. Yeah, exactly, Dory. During going to Walmart during the day is strange enough. So true, so true. Anyway, I'm bringing this up because these morons who are skeptical. Okay. Of course, basically the film, it's based on the true events. It's centered on a family who moved to Connecticut because their son Matt has been diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma and closer to his treatment. They rent a house that used to be a mortuary and a mortuary room in the basement, which has become Matt's bedroom, of course. They start being haunted by violent traumatic events from the spirits within the house. The minister informs Matt supernatural encounters are a result of the previous occupants' occult activities, including seances and necromancy. The film is in fact based on a true story. Of course, they added a few things. And this is the true story behind it. The movie is based on the Snedeker family, who moved in June '86 to Connecticut. The house was spacious, the rent was cheap, and it was near the hospital for Philip's treatment. After they moved, they discovered that back in the 20s, the house used to be a mortuary called the Hallahan Funeral Home. These are true facts. It stayed a funeral home for multiple decades. The Snedeker family found mortuary equipment in the basement hid behind building materials. They found a small graveyard out back and drawers full of eerie corpse photographs. And not long after moving in, the family claimed to have been haunted by spirits within the house. They reported hearing strange sounds, the temperature would change in the rooms, and they would see figures of dead people. Carmen Snedeker said they were incredibly powerful. One of them was very thin with high cheekbones and long black hair and pitch black eyes. Another had white hair and eyes and was wearing a pinstripe tuxedo, and his feet were constantly in motion. The real-life son, Philip, did have cancer, and they did move to be closer to the hospital where he was treated. Carmen says she didn't know that they were never told that it was previously a funeral home, and said she never went into the basement because there were renovation materials blocking the way, and they only found the equipment after they moved in. Carmen claimed that when she was mopping the basement floor, the water turned red. The dishes used to put themselves away. I need that. And the lights would flicker on and off even when they took the light bulbs out. The younger son, Bradley, did get spun around uncontrollably on the gurney And they also found toe tags and head tags and other personal items of the deceased, which both events were showed in the film. In the film, it showed Philip attacking his cousin. This really happened. And cancer-stricken Philip was taken by ambulance to a mental home for 45 days. Philip was also diagnosed with schizophrenia after talking about the spirits talking to him. His family said he became distant, dark, and violent after moving in. The Snedeker family brought in paranormal researchers, Ed Ward and Lorraine Worm and John Zaffis, who is their nephew, to help pinpoint the problems. The researchers believed that the former funeral workers were guilty of necrophilia, which led to the evil presences. Carmen later reported that former workers were found guilty of this crime. According to the current owner, they have had no problems. Another thing that happened, which is true, during the treatments there, after they left the house, Philip Snedeker's cancer did go into remission, and he went on to have 4 kids and became a truck driver. Oh God. Yeah, you do need to move there. But in 2012, Philip Snedeker did die of his cancer returned, and he passed away in 2012. He was just 38. So those are the true facts of this that were in the movie. Of course, they embellished the spirits in the wall, in the walls and everything. But what do you guys think of that? Do you guys believe in that story? The haunting in Connecticut. I'm sure you guys. Yeah, I know. I need the ghost to put my dishes away. That would be great. I wish they did, Chris. I have a bad habit. When I do whites, I leave them in the dryer like forever. It'd be nice if they came out and folded those. Tori says there's a certain word that realtors use when or if they're selling a house that's supposedly haunted. What is it? Tell us. Yeah, I need to move there too, get my stuff put away. That would be nice. But that is the real story behind that. The haunting in Connecticut. A lot of this was true. Of course, Hollywood embellishes upon that, but there are a lot of true facts in there. So, you skeptics, don't tell me there was no documentation of anything. You're full of crap. So, anyway, so there, take that. Anyway. Would you guys spend an evening with Annabelle? Would you guys? Oh, you don't remember the word? Then why'd you tell us? You brought it up. Now you can't remember the name. Well, I'm back. Not sure what the heck happened. Must have been the Vicky. Yeah. Must have been. Where'd you go? We were talking about this Snedeker family, the haunting in Connecticut, the true stuff behind it. A lot of it was true. So there you go. There are 6 cases infected that we can't stop talking about that were investigated by the Warrens. The Perrin family haunting. This is in Rhode Island. They were unaware of its insidious former resident. Oh, laptop crashed. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Coincidence, Steve? That was kind of strange. You would spend a night with Annabelle, Tori? Very cool. Originally built in the 1700s, this home in Rhode Island was once inhabited by Bathsheba Thayer and 4 young children, 3 who died young. Despite that, during that time, the era's high infant mortality rate, Those deaths and the circumstances roused suspicion within the town. They ostracized her, labeled her a Satanist, and she allegedly hanged herself in her backyard. While the Perrin family lived in the home, numerous pleasant, ghostly interactions, like spirits playing with the children or do chores, were reported. But so were darker interactions. That's crazy. The Warrens were brought in to help, but their presence aggravated them and Thayer's supposed ghost. That the family asked them to leave. James Wan turned Perrin's experience, of course, into The Conjuring. This was, you had disembodied voices, furniture moving, full spectral appearances. Matriarch Carolyn was allegedly one of Thayer's most consistent targets, jealous of the living woman's role as both mother and wife. The ghost reportedly pinched and slapped Carolyn quite a bit and touched Roger. But the Warrens' presence aggravated this. Yes, they did. They were brought in to help, but their presence aggravated their conditions there. And Thayer's ghost, that the family asked them to leave. That was The Conjuring. So, yes, it was unsuccessful. They didn't let them do it. 2, of course, the Amityville case, most famous of their investigations. Annabelle the doll, of course. And we all know that it was really a Raggedy Ann doll. That was a crazy, crazy thing. A haunting in Connecticut, which we just discussed, the Snedeker family. The South End werewolf. I did know about this one. One of their more unusual cases. This investigation took the Warrens out of the U.S. to access England. There, a man named Bill Ramsey was believed to be possessed by a demon that manifested as a wolf. But at the age of 9, he suddenly began exhibiting inhuman qualities. Ramsey felt a cold feel a trill, and his nostrils were awful come with an awful stench before he flew into a rage. He was gnawing on its wire meshing. Ramsey eventually grew up, became a father of 3, was incident-free until the 1960s. Of course, the Warrens were called in. Ramsey would ask to be locked up in a jail cell for his protection and protection of his family. When the Warrens got wind of that, they asked him to their Connecticut home where Bishop Robert McKenna would perform a recorded exorcism on him. The trial of Arnie Cheyenne Johnson, the first known case in the U.S. to use the devil made me do it defense. Wow. And of course, that's crazy. Crazy. Okay, let's talk about Annabelle. Chris, would you spend the night with Annabelle? Dee, how about you? Would you guys spend the night with Annabelle? I would. I think I would. Yes, you're absolutely right about that, too. Tori, yes, it was unsuccessful. They were asked to leave. I think if they would have stayed, they probably would eventually cleanse the house, etc. But they didn't let them. So, would you guys, Chris, would you spend the night with Annabelle? Go for it. Of course, I knew you would. Good deal. Annabelle is a Raggedy Ann doll that resides in a glass box at the Warrens Occult Museum. You're so bad. Well, we can't have everything, Dee. The story goes a Raggedy Ann doll was given to a student nurse by her mother in 1970. The doll began to behave in strange ways. It would move one place to the next. It would even write little notes on parchment paper that the student nurses and her roommates never owned. One of the roommates was said of having a night